Imagine you wake up tomorrow only to discover that something as ordinary as getting to your office, renting an apartment, boarding a bus, or applying for a job has become a daily struggle. Not because you lack the ability, but because the society was designed without you in mind. Today, we'll be talking about the rights of persons with disability in Nigeria with focus on transportation, housing, and employment. Joining me today is Olufolao Aweyemi, a disability rights and inclusion advocate. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure.
So before we talk about the law, let us talk about the bigger picture. Many people still see disability from the lens of sympathy or charity. How should we see disability today? And why is disability inclusion important to us in Nigeria?
Thank you so much for that wonderful question. The fact is that disability issues are not a matter of pity party or a matter of charity. It's now about inclusion. It's not about issues that are backward, not only by Nigerian laws, but by international laws. Okay, we have the Convention on the Right of Persons with Disability, and whatever that there is a law or there is a statute or there is a treaty that backs it up. It's no longer an issue of charity. Okay, it used to be, but it is no longer that kind of an issue. The world has moved beyond that. We are talking about how do you bring them into limelight? How do we include them in our daily activities beyond just giving them money, beyond just looking at them with pity parties? That is the main thing, because they are human beings like us and they are not different from any other set of people.
Understanding disability is one thing. Protecting the right of persons with disabilities is another thing. In 2018, Nigeria passed Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Act. That's the Prohibition Act. For someone hearing about this law for the first time, what are the key guarantees in this law?
All right. Now, the law is an interesting law, and that is the first time that we see that the Nigerian government is actually ready, beyond lip service, to do something about the issue of disability rights in this country. Now, that law came into effect from the International Convention on the Right of Persons with Disability, which is an international treaty, for persons with disability, all over the world. Now, I need you to understand that the law, that's the treaty, the International Convention on the Right of Persons with Disability, came as an human rights treaty, just the way we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1945 or other human rights law, the CEDAW, Convention on the Right of Women, or the ones for children. So this law, this treaty too, is just like every other treaty that we have, and that is also why we have that International Convention on the Right of Persons with Disability. So disability issues are human rights issues. They are not charity issues. They are issues of human rights. If a police arrests you illegally, we can find fundamental right action in court based on that same human rights issue. So without treaty now, okay, whatever, if police arrest you illegally or whatever you think is an human right abuse, disability issues also are the same pedestrian. They are in the same access. They are on the same level with all other human rights abuses that we have. So it is based on that background that Nigeria also now documented, also now have their own law. That's the law you referred to earlier. That's the 2018 law signed by President Muhammadu Buhari. That particular law is a law that recognizes the right of persons with disability, a statute that recognizes the right of persons with disability in Nigeria. And that, like I said, is first time that the government is very, very serious about the rights of persons with disabilities. Now, the key thing in that law is that it makes discrimination an offense. So that's section 2 of that law. It makes discrimination against the right of persons with disability to be an offense. Okay, in those days, that is actually where, like, first question about the issue of charity. That's why from that law, it is no longer a matter of charity. It's not a matter of what the law says is a problem. What the law says is an offense. So that law makes discrimination against the rights of persons with disability to be an offense, and that is where we are as of today. Several state laws too also, they are trying to domesticate the law at the state level. I know your state has domesticated, I think about 2 weeks ago, Bayelsa was the latest state to domesticate, because I follow the states as they domesticate those laws. Bayelsa state just domesticated the law, and so many other states who are trying to domesticate the law so that they can have it at the state level, not just only at the federal level. Although, yes, apart from domestication, there are other issues, because we have domesticated, we have the agency. What is the budget of the agency? Are funds being released for the agency? How far do we have persons with disability as staff of the agency? How far about even the government respecting the provisions of that law? Those are other issues that perhaps we still have to deal with, apart from just having the law is good, but making the law to work is actually the best.
Two things. Looking at where we are presently, what progress has been made so far? And in terms of implementation, where do you think we have actually fallen short?
So before I take that question, I need you to understand that most of the time, the problem with disability, let me say what is the general saying is this, that people think that persons with disability have a problem, or persons with disability are a problem. That is the general view. But may I tell you today, that view is totally wrong. The right view is that it is a society that has a problem with persons with disability. So it's the other way around, because society that will tell you that this person is disabled, I cannot deal with him or her, I cannot marry him or her, I cannot employ him or her. Why? I cannot take him in transportation, I cannot give him a house in terms of housing. So the problem is actually with the society, with people. And let me just tell you the truth, anybody can be disabled at any point in time. Anybody. So nobody can say there are people that they be disabled just because they are just on a road accident and they became persons with disability. Some people don't even know. Some people, do you know that some people they are disabled because they went to go and get a polio vaccine? And it is actually the mistake of somebody in the hospital, a medical personnel in his hospital, that brought them to where they are today. So some people, they had measles, and that is why they are persons with disability today. And that's actually the problem. There are a lot of them that they don't even know how or why they became persons with disability, and now they are suffering. And that is why we need to actually pay a particular specific attention to this set of people and to their rights. Now, coming back to the question that you asked, where are we today, and where do you think we should be?
In terms of implementation,
yes,
where are we falling short?
Yes, we are falling short in a lot of places, because even though we have the law, look at it, there is no access. We still have stairs, even in government agencies. Okay, we still have stairs all over.
Because I went through the law, and I think one of the provisions of the law is all public buildings should be accessible.
Yes, definitely.
And even if you go around to government institutions, both federal and state, they are still not accessible.
Exactly, that's my point. They are not accessible up to this particular moment. If you check that law very well, it gave a 5-year moratorium for all public institutions to be accessible.
And this is almost 10 years already.
Exactly. And that is actually where the problem is. Yes, I know government is trying in one area, but the trying is so limited. One of the ways they're supposed to do is that they're supposed to have an agency for persons with disability. The idea is that that agency will now be the forefront. That's at the state level now. That agency, at the federal level, there is an agency, that's National Council of Persons with Disabilities, that is run at the federal level. That also should be replicated at every state. So it is that agency that's supposed to now champion the enforcement of that law, okay, with the police and other security agencies, law enforcement agencies. They are the ones that should champion the enforcement of that law. But that's what they are saying, that even now, so many states even don't have the agency. And for say that have the agency, that still have issues, about the people that are in fact, there's a lot of states that they just have people, they don't know even anything about persons with disability as members of their different committees, those who are yet to have the agency. Now, that is why we are where we are today. And this thing is very simple. For building, because we've engaged with government, and they have said that, look, the problem is that we have these buildings, we built them since 1970s, since 1980s, since 1990s, and then you said, okay, fine, there is no problem about that. Can you, if, for instance, if a ministry, maybe key ministries, maybe they are upstairs, and you have to get a staircase to get to those places, can you bring the ministry down? Okay, if you cannot change your building, bring the ministry down so that person with disability can access them. That's number one. Number two, can you also bring someone, can they have an officer that is dedicated to persons with disability, so that that officer will be the one to be going up and going down, instead of person with disability going up and down the staircase with his or her wheelchair or crutches or any of those things. Do we have a sign language interpreter? How many do we have in the country? How many do we have in different departments, agencies, and parastatals we have in the country? So as to interpret for persons with hearing impairment. That is making the law to work. So it's not just about just having the law on ground alone, but it's actually making the law to work the way it's supposed to be. Now, and for new buildings, if that is done for old buildings, now for new buildings, when you build them, have the concept of having a RAM for new buildings. And government, we always have new buildings now.
And interestingly, we still have many new government buildings springing up without these innovations.
That is actually where the problem is.
I picked something from your word. You said 5 years grace was given for the
implementation of accessibility.
It is almost 10 years already. In that law, is there any punishment for people who fail to provide these accessibility for persons with disability?
Definitely, yes, there is punishment. If you look at it from the section 2, it says any discrimination by any person or any institution. The question is government an institution? Yes. So even from that alone, there is punishment based on that federal law. So, and we are already actually thinking of seeing how to champion this in court of law. Okay, in order to actually enforce this law, because if government thinks that they can just take the right of person's ability with fiddle like that, we will not allow that to continue hitherto, because it must stop. People with disability are not different from anybody. So why should they not be included? Why should they be left behind? Because there is a law. If you know you don't want it in the law, why did you not want to make the law just a political thing and just not make it to work? That is actually the fraud that government agencies are committing in their own way. But we are advocating at this moment. Very soon, we are going to take it to the next level of enforcing those rights in a competent court of jurisdiction, so that the court can pronounce and see if there are actually essential buildings, hospitals, law courts, essential buildings for persons with disability. So that is where we are as this particular. So the law is just there, to be frank. The law is just there. We've seen just a small, very, very micro improvement from where we used to be for now. But we believe that by the time actions are taken more, that's also one of the reasons why we are doing this. When we sensitize people, when we sensitize government, how many governments even have administrators for persons with disability in their differences? How many state governments? Most of them don't even have them. Okay, in some states now, it is so many of them have house committee for persons with disability. How many states? Maybe one. Most of them they don't even have. So what are we talking about? So we have a lot of things that must be put in place so that this law can work.
Interestingly, according to the WHO statistics, 1 in 6 people live with one form of disability or another. That means even at a nuclear family setting, there is at least one person with disability.
Definitely.
So why are we leaving this large percentage of our population out? Let us talk about 3 areas that affect daily living. That is transportation, employment, and housing accommodation. Which of these do you think present the biggest challenge to persons with disability today, and why?
It will be difficult for me to say with the one that actually poses the largest threat to persons with disability. I would rather say it is all. And I'll give you specific examples. Let's take housing, for instance. Even for people that are not persons with disability, there is an housing deficit in this country. Now, take it further for persons with disability. Persons with disability, the cases we have seen, and I'm telling you, live cases that we have seen. Now, you see a person with disability has money. She wants to get a house, or he wants to get a house. He or she has his money, and they have already agreed that he or she should come and get a house. But when they saw that he or she is someone with disability, say, no, we cannot take you in our house. She is ready to pay with her money, but she was denied.
Definitely,
why?
That is not lack of his or her own ability. That is because the system was designed without her in mind.
Definitely. So, but what we are now saying is that when you now have your money to now say you want to rent a house, and there is no other offense, and the agent or the landlord, the only offense that is committed is that that person is someone with disability, and they begin to say, who will help you to clean the house? And let me tell you, because I know that this will go viral, that is not an issue. Persons with disability have family members that can help to clean the house. No, there is no person with disability, person with visual impairment that will not have someone close to him or her to help. And from statistics, the question is that what is the data of persons with disability that are dirty? The data is minute. So most people that are with disability that they have houses, they even do more. They pay for their environmental services, they clean their houses are clean and it's better than people who are not even persons with disability. So why are they being denied? That is the issue about housing, okay, for persons. That is even when, and this house you are talking about, the house is not even compliant to. The house is not compliant with the standards in the particular law. But even persons with ability getting the house itself is even a big problem. Okay, because of the time you see people they have seen cases whereby the person with ability uses wheelchair and the only available place for him for him to come and take is to come and take him upstairs in a 4 flat to go and leave him upstairs. The guy said, "No, please let me stay downstairs." He said, "No, once you cannot go upstairs, then definitely we cannot give the house." What kind of effort is that on persons with ability? Okay, so you mentioned the issue of housing, and that is one problem we have with housing. So government, agencies, people, they need to begin to think of how can we have a house, that will be disability compliant, that we have ramps in it, or houses that are just on the floor, so that easily, persons with disability can go into their own house and come back. And let me tell you the truth, for places where they have houses with ramp, do you know that it's also a form of design to different houses? That is what we are seeing. It's also a form of design. Churches that have ramp, quality ramp, it's also a form of design. So we have seen situations whereby when your house is compliant with this law, it's not just a matter of making it accessible, it's also a matter of aesthetics. It makes your house to be different.
It beautifies
it will beautify the house, exactly. So there is a win-win situation for you. So that is the issue about transportation. Now let's go. That's the issue about housing. Now let's go to transportation. We have seen cases about persons with disability that they want to travel, but that person is on wheelchair, and maybe the person is traveling from Abuja to Lagos on road. We have even seen, even in here traffic, there is sunlight, we all see it on the social media, and the ones we see on here is that they did not carry that person for, and here I don't want to mention any name, they did not carry that person and take the person as if you are carrying crayfish and take the person into the craft. For road transportation, the problem is that, so I am traveling from Abuja to Lagos, and then the cost is 50,000 naira to travel by road from Abuja to Lagos. Now, when they see me that I am using a wheelchair, so everybody is paying 50,000 naira, but now I emerge and they see that I am using wheelchair and the normal cost is 50,000 naira. They tell me that I should come and pay 100,000 naira. I should pay 70,000 naira. What is my offense? I have a load, I have a wheelchair. And I begin to ask the question, that wheelchair is my leg. That is what I used to walk all around. Did all other persons, did they pay for leg in the same bus that is taking me from Abuja to Lagos? The answer is as good as yours. It's no. So why am I being paid extra? Why am I paying more just for me to be able to put my leg inside the same bus? So that is the problem we have with the transportation business. And the solution to that is the two ways. Number one, government should provide accessible buses. Again, going back to the government for persons with disability. And interestingly, each state government, they all have transportation the department. So many state government, they have those things. They should provide accessible buses. Private agencies too that are traveling, they should also provide accessible buses for persons with disability. Those are the things we should do. Okay, then drivers for public transport, they should understand that it's not a matter of charity. It's a matter of law. It's a matter of common sense. It's a matter of logic to take these people without giving them any additional or extra cost because nobody else is paying for it. That's the issue about transportation.
Why do many qualified persons with disabilities still struggle to find decent work?
Now, it's the same problem that we're talking about since. Now, we have seen that the system, the society, the private sector, the government, they still believe that persons with disability, they don't have brain. They believe that their body, even though their body is disabled for one reason or the other, the same way their brain is also disabled. And that is not only fictitious, that is a fallacy. And I give you an instance. We have a case of a person with disability who is a furniture maker. Do you know that most people is an albino? Most people don't give him work to do because they believe, because of the societal belief that an albino, you don't give them work to do. We tried this guy to do something for us, and what he did was excellent. What he did was fantastic. And that is the problem that we have. Do you know that person with disability can work with road safety? It's just a matter of just getting your data. I can be on my wheelchair and get your data and then put you in the system and then you are good to go. So person can work. I've seen person working in government agencies, and there is no person can teach. And I know the governor of Oyo State, actually employed quite a number of persons ability, to teach in different secondary schools and primary schools in the state. So what are you talking about when you say that person ability cannot be given a job? What are you talking about? Person ability can lead an organization in meetings, in programs, in different fora. So what are you talking about? So the issue that persons ability cannot function in an organization because they are disabled is totally a fallacy.
Let us talk about education a bit. We they call some schools special schools. So at this point, should we still have special schools or should we have inclusive schools?
Oh, okay.
Because if you talk about special schools, that means persons living a child, a student with disability, sometimes need to travel like 10, 20 kilometers to and fro the school. So should we have inclusive schools all around, or should we still maintain having special schools for persons with disability?
Direct answer: inclusive schools. And I give an example, true life story. I'm not lying. True life fact. True can compound. True life story. I know of a family in Abuja who has a deaf, someone with hearing impairment as a child. They are a family of 4 or 5. They have a deaf as a child. But do you know what? That family, all of them in that family, they have to learn sign language.
Wow. That's fantastic.
So when they are talking in the house, they are making any decision, they do it through sign language. That deaf guy is included.
That's inclusion because that child is not left out of family conversation.
That exactly is what we are talking about. Inclusion. So the same thing goes for issue of special school or inclusive school. Imagine a child with disability be in an environment where everybody in that school understands how to communicate with that child, understands how to deal with that child. Definitely that child will grow. Definitely the best of that child will come out. And that is actually the inclusion we are talking about.
Beyond having a law, what are the practical actions you think are needed to make sure that the rights of persons with disabilities are realized?
Apart from talking to police, they do what they're supposed to do. There are other things people should do. Even people used to talk about charity. Do you know that you can do an exhibition for persons with disability? Maybe something they are selling. Do an exhibition for them. Mobilize your people. Go to a place. Let them do an exhibition. And then let them showcase their talent. Let them showcase what they are selling. People will buy. And it's not charity. The money will go back. Do you know you can do business education for them? You can teach them how to do business. You can teach them about business plan. Do you know that persons with disability, you can teach the women with disability with a lot of things. There was a time I was somewhere in the southwest, and then we are talking about farmers with disability. What is government doing about them? So there are different ways, practical ways, and it's unlimited that we can actually come out to deal with issues of persons with disability. I've just mentioned a few that can help us to begin to think over and over about what we can do to this set of people.
So from your experience over the years, who do you think should take charge in driving inclusion? Is it government, private sector, CSO, or should it be a collective thing?
Everybody. You have just said it, and that's true. 1 in 6 persons is someone with disability. So that means everybody. Government has a role to play. The CSO has a role to play. The family, very important. They have a role to play. Let me tell you something about the family. One of the problems that families of persons with disability have is that they sometimes they keep these people with disability. They don't throw them outside. They don't put them where they're supposed to be, and it's also not their problem. People also need to support in one way or the other. Support not only with money. There are some people you need to support, especially in terms of health care. Some people, if you tell you what they spend on drugs, in persons that what they spend on drugs on weekly basis, will be dazed. So those people, they need support. So it's a collective thing that all of us must all be on top of our game to make sure that indeed no person is left behind.
What message will you like every Nigerian watching this to always remember about disability rights and inclusion?
Nobody should be left behind. In your mindset every day, what can you do to make the life of person with disability better. Not about giving money. What can you do? In your only two way, what can you do? How do you relate with them? That is what should be ringing in the heart and mind of everybody, because anybody can become disability at any moment.
Today's conversations reminds us that inclusion is not a matter of charity. It's about justice, dignity, and equal rights. Thank you so much to our guests for sharing these valuable insights.
The pleasure.
Until next time, let us continue to ask questions that help us build a more inclusive, accountable, and people-centered society. Bye for now.